known you are, the more likely schools and universities will bring your book in, carry your book, and what you'll find is that because you are better known and have that credibility, you're now really able to change more people's lives. So how did I learn this? Some people ask me, Steve, how'd you get started in this? And I'll quickly tell you my story so you can understand my background and where all of this comes from. I often say to people that it wouldn't be I wouldn't be doing this, actually, ironically, unless I had met this woman about just over 30, I guess it's been about just over 30 years ago. I met her in college, and we dated for 10 weeks. She was a senior, I was a sophomore. So as they say, she was robbing the cradle. Okay, I was dating the older woman. Well, we didn't have, much of a future because I had to finish school. She graduated. We had a long-distance relationship, but she lived in the Philadelphia area. And my brother, Bill, was in the Philadelphia area. He went to Haverford College. I'd gone to Davidson College, right in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he was starting a magazine for radio and TV producers, one that they would read to find guests who were available for interviews. And that's this, RTIR, Radio TV Interview Report. I figured, well, you know what I'll do? I'll help Bill. I'll work with him for a few months, and I'll date Laura on a day-to-day basis and see what the situation is in this relationship. Well, one thing led to another, and not that long from that date, we actually got married, and we're just thrilled. We're going to be soon celebrating our 28th anniversary, and you know how it is. You get married, you acquire some kids along the way, and I've got 2 boys and a daughter, and I tell you, it's just been wonderful to have a family business where we are able to change so many people's lives. Because what I get to do, I feel a lot of times I have like the best job in the world. Because when I help you get your message out there and change your results and change your life and change your career, I actually change so many more people's lives. Because you are a change agent. You're somebody with I don't know much at all about relationships. But if you're a psychologist, you probably know a lot more about it. And if you can get your message out there, you can actually heal a lot of people. Or if you're a fitness, I really know very little about fitness and nutrition and this and that. I mean, I wouldn't know really how to give somebody that kind of advice. But if I can help you do that, if that's your topic, then I can help a lot of people be healthier. And so this has really been a labor of love, and it's been something that I kind of fell into. But once I fell into it, I really focused on getting really good at it. Now, one of the things that's interesting is we found with our magazine, the way we would write people up and put them in our magazine, and the media, there would be certain headlines, there would be certain copy that would work better than others. And so that really led to learning how to position things the right way, how to come up with the right kind of copy, how to message what we're doing to get the media's attention. And I'm going to be sharing with you, we would do things, and sometimes things would bomb. And then we'd make one tweak, and the client would get 30 or more interviews from one little tweak. So I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas and some strategies for things that you can do. And no matter where you are, maybe you're at a point where you felt a bit discouraged, where you just feel like you've tried things, you've done different things, and nothing's worked. Well, you may be closer than you think to getting really big results. And an example of that we had, for example, this is probably my most famous client now, these 2 authors that had an idea for a book. people said, well, it sounds kind of cute, but they just weren't that interested. They were turned down by literary agents and turned down by publishers over 144 times, but finally they found one, and now they needed to get the word out about their book. Their credit cards were maxed out, and they came to my company and they said, hey, we want to get the message out, help us start getting publicity. And that book is known as Chicken Soup for the Soul, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen. And what we were able to do is by creating some fresh hooks and some innovative angles for them, they were able to get lots of interviews. In fact, I was just at Jack Canfield's house. He said, you know, Steve, looking back, we did over 1,000 interviews over many years. And one thing about them that was different than most authors is they were actually committed to doing interviews. They said, look, we want to average. We want to average at least one media interview a day. And so that was their goal. I remember helping one author. He sold over 3 million books through publicity. And I said, what do you think separates you from other authors? He says, you know what it is a lot of people are just writing books and they do promotion for a month or two, but I feel like my job is to do interviews. That's what my real job is. Well, you may say, well, that sounds great, Steve, but how do I get the interviews? Well, again, I think you're going to love the 35-second publicity formula. One of the examples, too, of the powerful ability to create a hook and what can happen with that is we got a call one time from a lady, and she said, listen, we hired a PR firm, we got nothing. My husband wrote this book, he self-published it, we got 3,000 copies in the garage. Can you help us? And we said, sure, let's start working. And what was the name of the book? Well, it was this. It was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And we ended up coming up with a hook for him, getting him out there to the media. And he ended up sending us this letter saying, you know, the publicity that I got from you guys actually opened doors for me throughout the publishing world. And I sold my first 250,000 copies, 250,000 books, and became a New York Times bestseller. And my next speaking gig is in Madison Square Garden. So I often say you can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous. Please write that down. You can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous. Now, what do I mean by famous, by the way? I mean it could be famous in your field, recognized in your field. I once had somebody who I was really trying to help. This person, I knew this guy from church, and he had lost his job, and I wanted to take him to lunch. Even though I was super busy, I really wanted to give him some free advice. And he's like, oh, Steve, you know, don't worry about it. He wouldn't take me up on my free offer. And I couldn't believe it. I go, you know, people pay me a lot of money to give them advice. I'm trying to give away what I do to this guy. He won't accept it. And why is that? Because in his eyes, I was just Steve Harrison, who he knows from church. I wasn't famous to him. Now, he had a friend who was working on a book, and he said, hey, he was just talking, and my friend said, oh, well, you know, I know this Steve Harrison at my church. He does something with books. And his friend said, what? You know Steve Harrison? Hold it, let me get this right. You know Steve Harrison? I'm on his webinars. Do you think that maybe if I gave you my book, do you think you could give that to Steve? See, he had a completely different reaction. And because to him, I was famous. You know, I once did just recently, I did a seminar, and I asked my friends, how many of you know, actually it was all the clients in the room, I call them friends because that's how I look at them. I said, do you know who Novak Djokovic is? And like, I don't think a single hand went up. I go, wow, you know, here's a guy who got to #1 in the world in tennis. What more does he have to do? But my point is this, fame is a relative term, okay? So you always want to be building your fame, But you want to be more famous so you can help people. It's not an ego thing. You know, the more people who know you, what if you were 10 times more famous than you are now? Well, you'd have 10 times more impact, 10 times more income, 10 times more sales. And I want to show you a key part of how to do that. Now, what I'm going to share with you is really drawn. I'm actually going to share a small part of the training that we give our clients when they come to our National Publicity Summit. That's a one-of-a-kind event. There's nothing in the world like it. It's actually an event that I've been doing now for over 10 years, and where I bring together my media friends over about a 3-day period, and I bring them together in New York City, and I let you meet them face to face. Now, I can only have 100 people because it's all about making connections. But here's what's really why I love it. I bring people who are passionate, who have a message, a book, or something to promote, a message to promote. Might be a nonprofit, might be whatever it is. They've got a story, they've got some expertise. And most of them have never gotten really a big major media hit before, or they're just, certainly most of them, you know, aren't famous or anything like that. And yet, because of the training, they've been able to land interviews on shows like this: Today Show, Good Morning America. You could look at the slide here. ABC, The View, Fox News, CBS, Dr. Oz, Good Morning America. So again, this is proven, and part of why we do so well is we're really good at training you on how to communicate with the media. So let's dive into it here, and I want to first play a little publicity game with you. I want to, let's just pretend that I am let's say that I'm a magazine writer, and I'm looking for either a good story or somebody who can really give me some advice for my readers. So if you've got some advice you can give or a good story, I want you to email me right now. Pretend I'm this editor of the magazine. And what is it? So I'm an editor of a national magazine, and you're now going to email me. And what is it that you would say? Write in this, just email me the subject line. I probably won't even open the email unless you really grab my attention, but I want to see from the subject line what you have to say. And this is kind of, you know, there's a former Oprah producer once told me, you know, a key to success is to get your hook down. I'll tell you about a hook in a little bit, so that you could write it down on like a Chinese fortune cookie slip of paper. Well, here's what we've got. So go ahead, and in fact, we're going to give some prizes away. And so the people that I think are, all right, so first of all, I'm going to give this person 4 surprising ways people steal your enemies. So let's see who this is. I'm going to give this person, looks like Enua. Enua, you are the first to respond. I'm going to give you a $30 gift card to Amazon, okay? Because I just appreciate you not being perfectionistic and just saying, hey, I'm going for it. I'm going to interact with Steve. Because like I said, whether we're live or whether in a replay, you're going to get the most out of this training by interacting with me. So Jess from my team will email, or she'll make sure that Steve Harkins sends you a $30 Amazon gift card, okay? All right, so let me see let's go back here. Okay, look, so we've got, all right, so good to hear from Thomas and Dorena and Marianne Block. Oh, wonderful to have you. Haven't talked to you in a while. Oh, there's that. Well, there's Winifred Bragg. Great to have you here. Susan, Pushpendra. That's a pretty name. I don't know if I mangled it or pronounced it correctly. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. Well, that was a pretty spelling. Thomas, very good. So email me here. Again, the email address is publicityfeedback@gmail.com. And I'm an editor of a magazine. What would you say in your subject line to get my attention? What exactly would you say in the subject line to grab me? Let me see. Now I know how many people. I've got a ton of people registered for this, and I've got a lot of people on it. But okay. So now they're coming. I'm just. Janine, thank you. Alan, thank you. Judith, wonderful to see you here. Anthony, John, Sean, Karen, Matthew, Gordon, Mira, Bridget, good. Debbie, okay. John, all right. Kim, so let me read you some of the different things that we got. Dorian, Jane. Well, okay. So I'm not going to be able to read all the names we're getting, but let me just go here to. Okay, so here's one. True health care is possible now. True health care is possible now. Well, that's kind of why do I need to instantly grab that? Now the title, the author has a book, Hacking the Well-Being Code. See, that would be better. I would put that in the subject line. Your book title is a better hook. True healthcare is possible now. It just kind of sounds like it doesn't sound like an article so much. It doesn't make me want to know. It just sounds kind of like a soft concept. See. Okay, so now Jane has got some good advice here. 10 ways to connect with your loved one with dementia. Okay, so that it offers a clear benefit, and that's one thing you want to do. Good for you, Jane. You want to offer a clear benefit. Okay, so here now Bob says answer to a big problem in America. See, now that's the problem with that is you're not getting to the point. I'm a busy editor. I'm not disposed to even open the emails. The truth of the matter is these media get so many emails, they tell me they can't even keep up with it all. But if you're persistent and if you write a good subject line, that's going to be key. But so answer to a big problem in America, just tell me what the problem is. All right? I've written a book that will change your way of thinking about, and I'm just about the world. Okay, so that's way too vague. In other words, how many times would you buy a magazine if on the headline it said, "This will change how you think about the world," page 27? I think you'd want something more specific. A key to a great hook is to give a tease where I got to know more. I've got to know more, either because it sounds like such a great story or I've just got to know more. So let me give you now some two formulas that could be good for your hook. One is how to fill in the blank. And we have some, like here, let's look, I'm sure we've got some, I've seen some good how-tos. Let's see. Let's see. Well, so there's one's a how-to. The other for your story would be meet the man who, or meet the woman who. Meet the man who died 6 times and came back to life. Okay? Meet the man who traveled to 36 countries. Meet the man who traveled to 36 countries in 2 weeks, or meet the man who turns terrorists into pacifists. See? Meet the woman who, and fill in the blank. So try that out. So Mr. Harrison, I have a topic for your show. All right, how to live an abundant, let's go to Alan here, the third one. Mr. Harrison, I have a topic for your show, how to live an abundant life with cardiac disease. Okay, so that's a solid how-to. And here's the thing about that. How to live an abundant life with cardiac disease. Okay, so the benefit is clear. Now here's the one problem with that. For my magazine, name any magazine you want, what percent of my readers have cardiac disease and know it and are looking for how to live with it? Not the majority. Okay, there's a segment, but not the majority. So what you want to do, though, is you want to give a hook. I'm not going to interview you unless I feel like you've got something that's at least going to be entertaining, and it's got to be of interest to most of my readers, at least entertaining them, bringing them into something. So what you probably would want to do there is do something like 5 foods that could, 5 foods that could prevent cardiac disease. So that's like relevant to everybody, and it's something specific. Okay, so so Jacqueline's got transforming lives today. Well, I think it's awesome that you're transforming lives. The thing about it is I don't know what you would do for my audience or my readers. How are we transforming people? Okay, so Alexis has the skinny house. Now, I think that sounds like a very good mediagenic phrase, the skinny house, but what exactly do we mean? Are we talking about like the tiny home concept? The skinny house, what do you mean by that? And to have a little colon and then say like why more and more people are downsizing, or the skinny house, why more people are living big in smaller homes. See that coming up. See, that sounds very mediagenic. Here's one, self-sabotage, how to stop the cycle. Okay, so you got a how-to there, self-sabotage, how to stop the cycle. And I think it could be even stronger if we had a specific type of self-sabotage. And here's the thing with hooks. There are lots, see, here's the great thing. There's lots of shows. There's lots of story ideas. I want you to have many story ideas that you can give a journalist. And so if you wrote down like the 3 different kinds of self-sabotage, it might be procrastination, it might be sabotaging yourself with food, and it might be how you talk to yourself. I'm just making up 3. Well, those are 3 different shows. Those are 3 different stories. Stop stuffing your face. Why most overeating is self-abuse. Interesting. See, that could be that hook. All right, so Stephen has 10 things you need to know to understand people. I like 10 things you need to know. By the way, the media tends to like 5 or 7 better, especially on a short. For an article, 10 is okay. But for a lot of times for TV, 5 is better because they just don't have a lot of time. To understand people, that's a little vague. See, most of you are really talking at the 30,000 foot level. And better would be something like how to tell if someone's lying to you. You know, wow, it's very specific. Okay, how to tell if your kids are lying to you. That would be even better, because that's situational. And so take your concept that is, maybe it's a concept, and it's often what I call the 40,000 foot level, and bring it down to the street level, the situational level. So if we talk about self-sabotage, well, so on an everyday situational basis, how are people self-sabotaging? What exactly are they doing? And that's why I use the examples I use there, like overeating, how they talk to themselves. But what do we actually, what are we talking about? And that the answer to that can often be the way that you're going to come up with a really great hook. So like if it's a relationship topic, see, rather than, you know, what to do when she's breaking up with, how to avoid a breakup, which isn't bad. Might be better to say, how to avoid the let's be friends speech. You know, something specific, you see. Okay. So Kristen has, dig up your grave, your best stories are there. Well, you kind of, it's kind of shocking, but I just don't quite see, well, sometimes, you know, if you can really, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes you could catch people's attention with something like that. So they're like, hey, tell me more. Be nice if they could just have a little bit more about what we're talking about. Let's see. Okay, Golden Year meditations. Yes, but what's the benefit of Golden Year meditations? How to, let's see. You are your child's best teacher, or can be. Okay, that's. I think that how to be your child's best teacher would be very solid, very solid. Try to avoid pronouncements of like opinions so much as just how to, or meet the woman who turns ordinary parents into their child's best teacher. See how that's done? See, meet the woman who turns high school dropouts into A students. Wow. You know, or gets high school dropouts to graduate from college. See that? See, a big key for a hook is to answer the question coming up and then fill in the blank. See, if you ever noticed that the media would say coming up, you know, coming up, how to be an automatic millionaire on the next, and that it's really a tease. In fact, that's a book by David Bach, and he learned a lot about hooks from us. And in fact, ideally, you want your title of your book to be a hook. Ideally, you want to have the table of contents of your book, each chapter, be a hook. So that we call that making your book mediagenic. It's one of the great benefits of people working with us now when they're at the writing stage and meeting the media and working with us, because they end up making their book even more mediagenic and therefore more marketable. So, all right, good work. So keep them coming. I'll be making some reference. I want to get into this recipe here of the formula. One of the questions that people ask me all the times is, again, should you contact the media yourself or have someone else do it? And the key is, really, they'd rather hear from you as long as you can get to the point and tell them why they should care. And please write that down. Why should I care? That's the question. Really, it's why should their audience care? Why should their audience care? One of my coaches, who is a radio producer himself, and he coaches my clients, and he says, you know, nobody wants to see your home movies. Nobody wants to really see your home movies. There's got to be something bigger than that. Jacqueline here has 7 ways to find Mr. Right. Good. I like that. There you go. That's page 22. Okay. Very good. Mira has celebrate job loss. That's interesting. Yeah. Anytime you can take a myth and turn it on its ear, like if you think of like what most people believe, and then tell them why that's great. So like with Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, one of the things we did when we got him on the air, he would talk about, he said, your house is not an asset. And people just freaked out. They're like, what do you mean my house isn't an asset? That's why I'm owning a home. But he redefined what an asset was. And it was just because he was going against the trend. It was provocative and it was instructive. And he ended up getting a lot of publicity from that. So anytime you can counter a myth, especially if it's a myth that people maybe want to have you dispel, like the 4-Hour Work Week, by Tim Ferriss, right? So there he's promoting this idea that you don't have to have a 40-hour work week, you can have a 4-hour work week. Well, he got a lot of publicity. So, so should you contact the media yourself or have someone else do it? Well, the truth is, if you know a few things and you're trained, the media would rather hear from you. They'd rather hear from you or somebody you personally trained to represent you, because you're the closest. You're the one they're ultimately going to interview, and you're the one that's passionate. Your publicist. First of all, publicists are very expensive, and most of the time I find people aren't really very happy with what they've spent, what they've gotten. But you want to be able to contact the media on your own, by email, by phone, and really know what to say, and I'll share that with you. Let me give you an example. Here's Barry Spilchek. Barry's a co-author of A Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He's a speaker, and he learned what I'm teaching you. He learned about publicity hooks, and you've got to have several hooks. The more hooks you have, the better. I want you to learn to think like the media and be able to create hooks just one after the other, and so that you can ultimately customize what you're doing to them. And so Barry was at my publicity summit. He was meeting different media, and he was talking to this TV producer, and he said, I want to save 1 million marriages. And the producer said, okay, what else you got? And he said, oh, well, we teach couples a revolutionary way to communicate. Okay, what else you got? And he said, well, soldiers are going off to war. Why don't you do a show on what to say to the person you love if you know you might never be coming back? And this producer said, can you come into the studio tonight? And that's how Barry, here as you see on the slide, he got on Fox News. Now, what happened there? The first idea didn't work, the second idea didn't work, but the third idea worked. What does that tell you? That the media isn't saying no to you, they're saying no to your idea. They're saying no to your concept. Give them a new concept, change your concept, change your results. So if you're discouraged, if you've been trying to get publicity and you're wondering, I just don't understand why I haven't gotten publicity, you know what it is? Because you haven't put it together the right way yet. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Because here's the deal. You must have a 35-second pitch. You must have a 35-second pitch. All right? And I'm going to walk you through the key ingredients, all right, of what you must have in 35-second pitch. So let me ask you, actually, for fun here. Send me an email to publicityfeedback@gmail.com. And I'm going to share with you 6 ingredients. Now, I'm assuming, some of you I see are seasoned students of mine. You've been in my Quantum Leap program, or you've come to my National Publicity Summit, so no cheating here. This is for the newbies, okay? But 6 ingredients. What do you think if in 35 seconds you're talking to a producer and editor? What do you think would be one of the ingredients, at least? Just put it in a subject line. What's one of the things that you would want to say to them? And don't say a hook, because a hook definitely is one, and we just talked about that. So a hook is one, there's 5 others. What would you want to be sure to do? Yeah, I'm going to give you 6 ingredients, but send me an email to publicityfeedback@gmail.com. Other than a hook, what do you need to say when you're communicating to them? Send me an email and just write like ingredient and then tell me, okay? So, in fact, I'm going to give prizes on this too. I think I've stumped them here. I'm not seeing as much response. Okay? Let's see. I'm also looking at my list to see if what qualifies here. Six ingredients, let's see. Let's go up to the top. Oh, here we go, ingredient, okay. All right, Betty says ingredient. Okay. All right, so let me, let's see. Okay, so let's take a few, let me make some comments here and give some prizes away. So let's go up to the top here. I know the top, I know we're just getting a whole bunch in, so, all right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your idea there. Thank you. I mean, I can't even read all the names that I'm getting. But Judy says, benefit to their audience and of interest to them. Now, Judy, you're a Quantum Leap member, so, you know, this is like the sweepstakes where the relative of the employee, but you're right, okay? You know, you're absolutely right, Judy. So the benefit is important. Shirley says something trending. That's a type of a hook, but absolutely, we'll be talking about that. That could be good. It's not one of the. It's nice. It's not absolutely. You don't always have to have a trend. Ian says availability. Not in your first 35 seconds. Okay. Remember, what I'm teaching you. In your first 35 seconds is to get them interested. Somebody says unexpected words that surprise, solving a problem. Okay, would be very good. Again, it's kind of more of an ingredient to a hook. Somebody says passion. This is all good stuff. Just interesting to get you thinking about this ingredient. Why I am the best one to do this. Okay, that is a very good. Here's the thing. You need to be. They need to know who you are. And what I want to teach you in the 35 seconds is, you've got to be able to own your expertise. That's very, very true. So all right, let's give some prizes here. There are a bunch that I just mentioned. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my, let's think. That's how best to do this. I would say, all right, I'm going to give the Livity Lessons ingredient, why, now, how, what. I like that. We're going to give that a prize. Going to give that $30 Amazon gift card. Just make a note. Livity Lessons, okay? And down below, is there a name in the email or not? All right, points off. See, don't have your name. How can? Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Got your name. You're perfect. So you get the $30 gift card. Let's go back. Why you're the best source, Corinne. I mentioned that earlier. Let's go, Corinne Smith. Congratulations, you win a $30 gift. It's not exactly how I'm phrasing the ingredient, but if you can say why you're the best source for the info, absolutely. By the way, you don't always have to be the best source to get booked. You simply have to be a credible source. So if you're thinking that there's other people who know more and are more accomplished, you may very well be right. You're probably right. That doesn't mean you can't get national publicity. But if you can say that you are the best source, then you clearly want to. Let's go back. It's Kate with results, outcome of what you do, how people benefit. Good job, Kate. That's I think you're thinking along the right lines. Angel said something here. It's really more of a question for a hook, timely. If you can be timely, that's a great way to get publicity. That's what I would say if I was, you'll hear me talk about topics a little bit later that people like. But anytime you can position yourself that way. So let's dive in then and I'll give you my 6 ingredients to a 35-second pitch and take you through it. So 6 ingredients to your 35-second pitch. Now, number 1 is something that nobody said. Nobody said. And yet, 90% of This is when I interview media, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of journalists. These are friends of mine. They come to my publicity summit, and I often say to them, if you had a brother or sister who really wanted to get publicity and they wanted to have you interview them, what would be the one piece of advice you would give them? You know what the first thing is they say? They say, watch my show or read my magazine. And so what they're really saying is, number one here, you've got to show them you know what they cover. Show them you know what they cover. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, so when you email them, you could say, great article about Joe Jacobs. You're showing them you read the article. Hey, I really enjoyed your article about Joe Jacobs. By the way, I've got here an idea for a story that I think your readers would also be interested in. But show them you know what they cover. Show them that you could say, for example, here's something that might be great, a possible story for your Get a Better Life column. Oh, show them you know what they cover, who their audience is, the kinds of topics. And so in your 35-second pitch, I'm going to be I want you to put together ultimately what you would say to somebody on the phone or in writing an email. And so instantly showing them that you understand what they cover is really big. Remember, their favorite topic is themselves and their audience. That's what they're trying to do. And yet nobody said that. Nobody really said that. Okay, number two. So you're going to show them you know what they cover. That's one of the ingredients. Number two is you're going to own your expertise. Own your expertise. And I want you to do that with an I am statement. I am. And I am a coach. I am one of the top, one of the foremost, if you can say that. Or just simply maybe I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant who helps people save. I'm a consultant that helps families cut their credit card bills. Just saying that and owning that, you may not think you're the number one or the best, but just saying I am. Who are you? And by the way, that can shift. In other words, you have just like you have different outfits that you wear for different purposes, when you're approaching the media, you might have different hooks. You might also decide to present who you are in a different way. To a business publication, you might say, I'm a business coach. To a women's magazine, you might say, I'm a communications expert. Both are true. It's just that you're deciding which hat you want to put on. So the I am statement, what is your expertise? What do you know how to do? Who are you? Now, some of you mentioned credibility, and okay, good. I just want you to say I am. I want you to own that. What is your expertise? Number three, and we talked about this, is share what's in it for the audience. Share what's in it for your audience. And kudos to you guys that it's what's in it for the audience. Okay, this isn't about whether the editor likes it or the producer likes it so much as do they think it will be really entertaining and of interest to their audience? Would it be helpful to their audience? And by the way, like I said, interesting and entertaining. Sometimes you all have a message, or some of you have a message that would be beneficial. It's just not interesting. You haven't made it interesting. It's like saying, why you should drink more water. Okay, well, you're right. I should drink more water. But it doesn't sound like an interesting show or story. But wrapped in a different way, you can now get me to meet the woman who gets kids to give up soda. Whoa, tell me about that story. How do you do that? Okay, so share what's in it for the audience. And by the way, that needs to be some form of interest, of entertainment, and maybe advice, some kind of payoff. It might be that you're telling them about something dangerous or horrific, or controversial, but there's something for the audience that will get them to want to tune in for the show, to buy the magazine, to tune in for the show. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is to give them a story. Nobody mentioned that. Nobody mentioned to at least hint at your story, that you have a story. And I'm sure if you're watching me now, you have a story. I bet you have quite a story on why, of just what has gone on for you to join me for this training. And you don't need to tell, you obviously can't tell the whole story in 35 seconds, right? You're probably already wondering, how am I going to get all this in 35 seconds? Well, stay with me. But I want you to hint that there is a story, okay? All right. Okay. So give them a story. That's number 4. Number 5 is when you're talking to them, make it a conversation, not a monologue. Make it a conversation, not a monologue. You ever have somebody call you on the phone, maybe for a charity, and they just go on and on and on and on, and you're like, click. Well, that's a monologue. But you want to make it a conversation. And how do you do that? You want to ask a question quickly, a quick question or two, so there's a little bit of back and forth where you can take their temperature. See how they're doing. Kevin says, I said it. Ingredient, newsworthy story. Oh, he said it. He's you putting a newsworthy story. Okay. All right. Well, good, Kevin. Then we did have 1. We had 1 out of 500 responses. Guys, we need to improve that. We got to get to Kevin's level. All right. Got to have a newsworthy story. And in fact, let's send Kevin a $30 gift card. But I'm also going to put a ban here on anybody else that kind of contradicts the host. I'm not giving any gift cards. So I don't want to encourage people to be correcting me, so there won't be any gift cards for that. But for Kevin, he did say that he said story, so let's give him a $30 gift card to Amazon. All right. You're right, Kevin. Got to have a story, okay? And all right, so good work. Good work. So what's the other piece here? Number 6. Nobody did this either. Is after you give these key elements, number 6, ask what they think. Ask what they think. You know, a lot of times people just they say something to the media and then they're like, you know, kind of left hanging, and they don't just say, what do you think? Ask for feedback. Ask what they think about it. And if they say, oh, let me think about that, sure. How does this sound? Do you see, would there be any reason why you don't think this would be right for your audience? And that gives them an opportunity to say, well, I think we've probably done a lot on this before, or I think I want somebody who was if you can pull out their, you know, they might say, I really would want somebody who's, you know, has whatever it is that they're looking for. It just helps you to, because you may have that, and you just haven't told them that. So you've got to ask them what they think. Okay, so how do we do this? So here's how we do this. I want to read you some examples, and I'm going to, again, let me just give the quick, here's the summary slide. Make sure you have these. Show them 6 ingredients. Show them you know what they cover. Own your expertise. I am, fill in the blank. Share what's in it for the audience, your hook. Give them a story. Make it a conversation, not a monologue, and ask what they think. So I want to read you some examples. I'm going to have to take my eyes away from the camera here and just look on my paper. But let me just share with you some examples of actual, just how this would look, okay, in terms of a pitch. All right. So, and see if you can see the elements. Here's an example. Hi. So person's talking to the media, and what we do is we train people, because when they come to our publicity summit, they get something that they don't usually get, which is the ability to talk to the media face to face. But if you're persistent, you can get them on the phone. You certainly can email them, but you'll have really about 35 seconds, and that's it. Okay, so here's an example. Hi, I'm Joanne Barker. You said that one of the things that you look for is inspiring stories that are health related, right? Well, I could show your readers how to change their health by simply using a pen and paper. Does that sound intriguing? When my doctor gave me 6 months to live, I was so stressed out I began writing my thoughts in a notebook, but I did it in a highly unusual way. For example, I'd write positive words in gigantic letters. This allowed me to change my thoughts and change my health. And 3 months later, I was cancer-free, all from what I now call power journaling. Since then, I've taught hundreds of people how to use it. Many of them have been able to transform their health, too. Does this sound like it would be of interest to your readers? So so he starts off, now here she's saying, you said that one of the things you look for is inspiring stories that are health related. Well, that's because when you come to my publicity summit, you actually get to listen to the media talk about what they look for before you even go meet them. Now, if you're not at my publicity summit, how would you do this? Well, you would then look at what they cover. You might say, hey, I noticed that you seemed in your column, you seem to like inspiring stories that are health related. Am I right about that? Yeah, you could probably say that. Okay. Well, I would like to offer an idea. I could show you, and then you go into it. Here's another one. Here's an example number 2. Hi, I'm Laura Johnson. As a certified financial planner, I've done over 1,000 consultations with couples about their retirement plan. I've discovered there's usually one spouse who's much more in the dark than the other about the finances, and they don't realize that their spouse is making a lot of mistakes. I'd like to propose a story for your Have a Better Life column that might be called something like Watch Out for Your Spouse. How good intentions could ruin your retirement and what to do about it. How does this sound? So that was less than 35 seconds. That had all 6 elements. Okay? I'll say it one more time again. Hi, I'm Laura Johnson. As a certified financial planner, I've done over 1,000 consultations with couples about their retirement plan. I've discovered there's usually one spouse who's much more in the dark than the other about their finances, and they don't realize that the spouse is making a lot of mistakes. I'd like to propose a story for your Have a Better Life column that might be called something like Watch Out for Your Spouse. How good intentions could ruin your retirement and what to do about it. How does this sound? So we got all 6 there. Here's example number 3. Hi, I'm Joe Carter. I've noticed that you do a lot of relationship shows. Would you like to know why the best relationship expert you could ever interview is a taxi cab driver? Well, I was a taxi driver in New York City for 5 years. It gave me a front row seat where I could eavesdrop on people's conversations, and I noticed some real differences between couples who were having a good time and the ones who weren't. I put them all in a book called Get in the Front Seat. A New York cabbie shares the secrets of New York's most romantic couples. I could come on and share the 5 conversation secrets to having a more enjoyable date night. What do you think? So again, you have all 6 elements in there. We see, he's got this story. We could do it, and notice how he doesn't have any credentials as a relationship expert, but we're making it a benefit. Whatever you think that you're lacking, make it a benefit. Here he's just leading with it. I notice you do a lot of relationship shows. Okay, good. Would you like to know why the best relationship expert you could ever interview is a taxi driver? And that's a question. And you wait for feedback. And then he shares his story. He just shares a little bit about his story. So he hints at his story. And so those are examples of how to put these 6 elements together. What's something you learned from that? Send me an email to, right here on the slide, publicityfeedback@gmail.com. How do you feel about this training so far? How's this going for you? Publicity feedback, just put it in a subject line for me, publicityfeedback@gmail.com, publicityfeedback@gmail.com. I'm going to share with you 7 types of topics that the media really love here in a minute. So send me an email. What's something you've learned from this training so far, something that's been an aha for you just from what we've covered so far, okay? And now what I want to do is I want to share with you 7 types of topics that the media really love. And I've been mentioning some of this in our interaction, and some of it I haven't at all. So here's the first thing. Media love how-to topics. They love a how-to hook. So, you know, I bet you've got a how-to topic, right? You know, you really do. And so having a how-to is really, really powerful. Have a bunch of them. You know, there are things that you help people doing. So, for example, you know, this essentially was really billed essentially as how to get more publicity using a 35-second pitch formula. And let's see what people are saying. So Dorena says, I feel more confident in approaching the media. Yay, that's awesome. That makes me feel great. Bridget says, it's great so far. I like the different scenarios. Thank you. Jane says, loving this. All the 6 ingredients have made a big impression on me. That's awesome. Janice, the pitch room concept always kind of scared me to death. Now I feel I can prepare appropriately. That's awesome. Love this training. I've been struggling to get out there, says Cody. I think this will really help us get noticed. You know, you will stand out when you do this. You're going to find that you're going to stand out in their inbox, on their messages, because you're giving them, before you all were giving them maybe 1 or 2 ingredients. Now you're giving them, now you know to give them 6. Laura says, thank you for the info so far. I'm really enjoying this. Corinne says, boy, the fact that the media would rather speak to me than a PR person. Yeah, because most PR people don't pitch this well. They don't have the 6 ingredients. You know how most PR people pitch? Hi, this is so-and-so with such and such associates, and we have this author that we think would be good for you. And it's just kind of, you know, it's boring. A lot of times they're paid to make the calls, and so they're a lot of times pitching things that are inappropriate because they're really kind of paid to make the calls. All right. Good. Andrea says, this training's been awesome. Oh, I love it. And all right, so lots of great comments. Liz says she'll feel more comfortable. That's what this is about. If you can be more comfortable, more confident, that's really big. Donna says all of it. Oh, that's great. Okay, so good. Oh, Paul, what's Paul say? He says, it's made me take a good look at what I've done in the past. Yeah. Because, you know, maybe you're doing some of these things, and, you know, sometimes people get publicity, they don't even know why. Or maybe you see that when you, some of the things that you're doing, you could now tweak them. And so that's great. Oh, I'm so glad Chris Mannion says, I've learned the need for more than one hook. Fantastic. And good. Angela says, I'm learning a lot of strategies. This is awesome. Okay. Amy says, I've learned how to grab somebody's attention in a concise way. So let's build on that. Okay, let's build on how to grab somebody's attention. So we're talking here about 7 types of, let me go back to this slide here, 7 types of topics that the media love. And really what these are is really like hook formulas. So how-to is one. And I'll share with you this story. Elizabeth Lombardo came to my National Publicity Summit. She's a psychologist. She wrote a book about happiness. And before she came to my summit, you know, she was just trying to figure out, how do I get the word out about what I'm doing? She was frustrated. And she'd be reaching out to media, and she wasn't getting calls back. But she learned how to do, and I've just been sharing with you a little bit of what we teach folks, but she really learned how to do this. And one of the reasons she learned is at the summit, you have to do it. It's not just kind of listening to Steve. You actually learn best by doing it. And she did, and she worked at it. And what she also was able to do is to be pleasantly persistent by giving different hooks and she landed her appearance. She had never been on national TV, and she got booked on the Today Show. And this is Elizabeth. And in fact, she got booked on the Today Show, and she was so good that she actually got invited back again and again. And it was by giving different how-to topics. You know, and so one is like how to overcome being a perfectionist. And that, you know, has really worked for her. So a how-to topic, and here's what's exciting about Elizabeth. You know, if you've ever just looked at wanting to be someone who's really raising awareness for people and shifting how they think in their lives, if you've ever wanted to be somebody who now is actually getting calls from the media saying, could we interview you? There's something that happened in the news, could we interview you? If you wanted to be the kind of person, that we call that, by the way, a go-to expert. If you want to be the kind of person where you get called and invited to speak at a major conference, well, this is what publicity does. This is what is happening now all the time for Elizabeth Lombardo. And it can happen for you if you put the pieces together and you learn how to do that, and you build relationships with the media. That's what Elizabeth did really well. Now, part of how you build relationships with the media is to be somebody that when they hear from you, they feel like, hey, that's a good idea for a hook. That's great. That's a good, they may not use it, but they'll remember you. You'll stand out. Okay, so the second type of topic the media love is what I call an interesting story. An interesting story. Do you have an interesting story? Now, when this gentleman, Orrin Hudson, we began working with him, he has a really powerful story. He was a police officer, and he was just seeing all kinds of problems with kids in the inner city. There was one time where he saw a young man in the inner city robbed a 7-Eleven, shot somebody at gunpoint for like $20. And he's just like, something's got to be done here. You know, just catching the kids and locking them up is not enough. And Orrin, it turns out, actually is a really amazingly good chess player. That's right, chess. And he decided to teach kids about chess, but use it as a metaphor to teaching them about how to make the right moves in life. And so he really wanted to get the word out. He's got a nonprofit organization. He came to my publicity summit. He went through the training. He met the media face to face. And as a result of that whole experience, he ended up getting in USA Today newspaper. He was then contacted by a movie studio of the people that made the movie Ali. They wanted to make the movie of his life. The other thing that happened for him is you can see here, he got in People magazine. Now, you have to be a celebrity, usually, to get in People magazine. This reaches millions and millions of people. What would he have paid for a full-page ad in People magazine? Boy, hundreds of thousands of dollars at least. And yet, he didn't pay anything for that ad. It's even more credible because it's not an ad. And he would get calls, donations, all kinds of things happening because now people knew who Orrin was. So what's going to happen when they know who you are? When they know what your story is and how you help people? They're going to be going to your website. They're going to be telling their friends about you. Hey, I heard this lady on the radio today. I saw this guy on TV. You know, I was reading an article. You ought to look at this book. That's how it happens. More word of mouth, more word, you know, but that's where you want to be. You want to be the person that everybody's talking about. And that could be in your niche, that could be nationally, etc. So how do you make that happen? Well, you know, that's what we're talking about here. One great way to do it is to be timely. So position yourself with a timely topic. Media love things that are timely. And how can you do that? Well, I find most of the time, if you think about what you're doing, usually there's some time where the media will tend to want to hear an interview with you or book you. In other words, there's a time of year where your topic probably comes up in the news. But there's also things that come up in the news you could tie in with. So a guy wrote a book, his name is Mark Satterfield, and Mark wrote a book about unique sales stories. He's really teaching the concept of storytelling to salespeople. Well, that could be great if you're a salesperson, but why would the media want to interview somebody on that topic? Most people aren't salespeople, at least by profession. And but I was talking to Mark, and I said, well, listen, let's think about how to make you timely. Let's look around at what's going on, what's coming up soon. And as it turns out, the Super Bowl was coming up. I said, you know what? Let's see if we could tie in with the Super Bowl. I thought about it. I said, if you think about it, most people watch the Super Bowl, or a lot of people do, because of the commercials. And the commercials tell a story. And your expertise is how to tell stories to increase sales. Why don't you talk about the Super Bowl commercials? Why don't you offer to critique them and say which ones told the best story, which ones were the most effective? And we ended up, because he's a client of ours, we ended up sending out a press release for him and putting him out there, and he got booked on ESPN. He got booked, he got on over 50 talk shows, typically radio phone interviews, and he's been able to do this a number of times. Last I talked to him, he had sold over 40,000 books. And one person who heard him on ESPN is a big developer in Australia, ended up giving him a lot of business, actually over $250,000 worth of business. And this is all from one publicity idea. You can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous. You can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous, but you got to do it the right way. You got to put the pieces together. And so here's another type of topic that the media love: demonstrations. Can you demonstrate something? Can you do something? Perry Kay is just a wonderfully creative guy. He calls himself Perry the Inventor, and he loves inventing different things, and he just got a real playful attitude. And what happened with him is he actually invented a marker that it's like a magic marker, but it also cuts as well. And when he came to my publicity summit in New York and he met the media, see, what was awesome was he met a producer at Good Morning America who said, well, I've got a friend who actually produces a segment that I think you would be great for, because we have like a Shark Tank segment. And sure enough, Perry here got on Good Morning America. He had never been on national TV before. This is what he was really looking for. And the thing about it is, now on his website, he can say, as seen on Good Morning America, whenever just imagine that you're an executive and you're thinking about carrying this product, and it's just proven that when you're on TV, when you've gotten the publicity exposure, people take you much more seriously. You have a different, whole new level of credibility. And so Perry is seeing that all kinds of doors are opening for him because he's at that level. He's got that national marquee type of reputation. Here's another thing. Somebody had mentioned earlier talking about trends, okay? Well, that's a really good thing. The media love trends. What can you talk about? What are more and more people doing? What are fewer and fewer people doing? Connie Bennett wrote a book called Sugar Shock. And what we taught her was things like I'm teaching you now: how to present, how to pitch what you're doing. And it was one of the things that she shared with the journalist was how her topic works. And the journalist writes for Time magazine. And the journalist noticed that there were more books out now about sugar and giving up sugar. And so she did a whole piece and actually ran Connie's book cover in the article, and so she got in Time magazine, and you can see that here. Here's Connie's book. So this is this is what I love. I love seeing people's just where they're wondering, can I really do it? Can I really make it? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of scared, but I think I could do it. And then they take a leap of faith. They put themselves in a situation where they meet the media and they learn, because they're meeting the media, what to say and do, and poof, everything changes for them. Now, that's what I love. Let me give you an example of somebody who was really committed to getting her message out. She was really committed to learning, and by the way, committed to what I would call stumbling forward. Hey, to do something initially, when you first do it, you're not going to do it well. But by giving yourself many reps and trying it, you're going to get better and better. And so Kellyanne Petrucci came to my publicity summit. She really had, her whole topic is really about the paleo diet. And she wants to help people lose weight, feel better. She had not been on national TV before, but she was willing to learn. And she became a client of mine with Quantum Leap, with my publicity summit, and she was really willing to learn and work at it. And she ended up meeting producers right there at my publicity summit and ended up getting her first national TV appearance and got, as you see here, got booked on the Dr. Oz show. Now here's what's interesting. This publicity and just putting the pieces together, she ended up becoming a New York Times bestseller. So again, you can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous. And here's a funny thing. I was just talking to her a few weeks ago, and I was saying, listen, can I interview you for a few minutes? And she goes, oh, I'd love to do that. I really want to tell people about how the summit helped me and everything. I'm like, great. When can we line it up? So we lined something up, and then she called me back and said, hey, listen, Dr. Oz, they're having me back. And now she's like so busy, it's tough to get her to return my phone calls because she has an infomercial and she has all of these things happening. So what I do ask is, once you do these things and you let me work with you, introduce you to the media, and you become rich and famous, I just ask that you return my phone calls. Okay? But seriously, this is what's exciting, is that you get to a whole new level through publicity of people wanting to work with you. And you want to have the problem of having too much opportunity rather than too little. Here's another formula, what I call the danger formula. Tell people about a potential danger that you could keep them from. Ron and Lisa Barris, they're a husband and wife team. They're really passionate about just stopping the danger of toxins in people's homes. And they ended up, they had never been on national TV before. They got on the Today Show. They got on Fox News. How? Well, because they let us work with them. They let us introduce them to media in New York at my National Publicity Summit. And now they are regulars on all the shows, and they've just been doing a ton of media. They've got products they sell, programs, speaking, and people see them as national experts because of this incredible, unquestioned credibility. The other thing I find the media likes are emotional things. Okay, they're maybe controversial or humorous. Anything that you can kind of connect with. Here's a gentleman, Steven Shapiro, and Steven was at my publicity summit. He didn't have a book, and by the way, that's important to note that you don't have to have your book to start getting publicity. In fact, a big reason that really smart, savvy authors who don't have their book actually come to my publicity summit is they know the importance of building connections, and they want to build relationships as early as possible with the media, and they also want to get feedback on their concept and on their book. Because a lot of times, people send me their book, and I wish that we could have worked with them earlier because they could have made their book more mediagenic. Well, this is what Steven did, And he had a concept that he said he called goal-free living. And he went up to the editor of the Oprah magazine, and he said, you know, Oprah is the perfect embodiment, really, of what I teach. And she said, really? What's that? Well, she once said that she's achieved so much success without setting goals. And I teach a concept called goal-free living. And sure enough, as you can see here, he ended up getting featured in O magazine. He actually got like a 2-page feature. And they waited till his book came out, and it really just worked out great for him. He gets speaking engagements now. He has this to show. He can always, for the rest of his life, say, you know, as seen in the Oprah magazine. And that's the thing that really shifts, is when you can give credit. When national media are saying you're great, you're great. It's one thing for you to say you're great, but when the national media say that you're great, boy, that's really makes a big difference. So how do we put this together? That's really a question. You know, how do we kind of bring all of this together? How could you know? Thank you for just the wonderful feedback, and you know, just really great to hear all of the positive things here. I really do appreciate it. You know, here's what I want to get back to, because this is so important. I've given you techniques, and you know, it's easy to forget the techniques. It's one thing to know the techniques kind of up here. It's another thing to really have the skill. But let's back up for a second, and let's ask this question. Why do you want publicity? Think what you emailed me before. Why do you want publicity? Send me another email to publicityfeedback@gmail.com. Why do you want publicity? Hopefully, I've gotten you a little more in touch with your why. I suspect you're not doing this just for the money. Yes, it probably needs to be a business for you. Maybe it doesn't need to be. But why do you want publicity? Send me an email to publicityfeedback@gmail.com. publicityfeedback@gmail.com. And let's really look at why it is. Just to review, here's how publicity increases your impact and your income. I got to believe you're with me because you want to increase your impact, right? Well, and probably you want to increase your impact, and you'd also be nice to improve your income, because maybe you can now give to more charities, you can provide for your loved ones, you'll have more credibility, more people taking you seriously, you'll be more for real. And as a result of that, you'll get more customers. You'll even be able to charge higher fees. I've had people double their speaking fee after getting a national media appearance. That's something that Elizabeth shared with me. She was able now to get higher fees after she got on the Today Show. You get more traffic to your website. You know, Lori Quinn Lowenberg ended up getting on The View after being at my publicity summit, and got on Good Morning America. I was talking to her right after she got on Good Morning America, and she said, my gosh, it was just the traffic was just flowing in. She couldn't believe it. I had another client who got on ABC's 2020. Again, after coming to my summit, she ended up getting 2,300 emails in the first hour alone. So more traffic, more sales. And as it says here, you know, more traffic, more sales. And then if you notice here, more speaking engagements, more word-of-mouth referrals. What are you doing to get the word of mouth going? You know, more publicity. Publicity leads to more publicity. That's the great thing about it. Creates a spiral, and more lives changed. I'm seeing here from what you've emailed, I'm just looking at, you know, Terry says, I want to impact lives and make a difference. Linda says, I want nurses to be happy. I want publicity to help divorced children have their father in their life. I want to help more people with a bigger platform. You know what I see is just kind of streaming through over and over and over is this word help. You want to help people. You want to help people. That's why I love working with you, because, you know, my mission is to help you achieve your mission. If I help you help you get publicity, I'm going to help a lot more divorced children to be able to heal and to be able to have hope. That's why I love what I do. Now, here's what I find. There's 4 reasons people don't get media coverage, and here's what they are. Number 1, they don't take action. It's one thing to be on the training, but if you don't do anything with the training, guess how much publicity you're going to get? 0. Guess how many people you're going to help? 0. Guess what kind of difference you're going to make? 0. Second, they don't have the right pitch. That's why we've been talking about this. They don't have the right pitch. You cannot afford to be approaching people and not have the right pitch. You might as well, you're just wasting your time. And you need to learn how to do that. You need to know how to do that. I'm not saying it has to be a perfect pitch, but it's got to be the right pitch. Third, people don't get media coverage because they don't feel confident when promoting themselves. You know, everybody has butterflies, but some people are just paralyzed. They just don't like promoting themselves. They don't feel confident. And I got good news for you. If that's you, you can overcome that. I love helping people overcome that. And are you willing to actually learn how to enjoy it? Because what you're really doing is you're serving people, okay? You're serving the media. And that's this next point. They don't develop relationships with the media. That's another big key. They don't develop relationships. You know, let me ask you something. Look at me. If a media person were working on an article and it was exactly about your topic, would they think of you? Would they say, oh, I can call and think of you? Well, for most people, the answer is no. But if you build relationships with the media, have you ever noticed that sometimes one relationship can make all the difference in the world? Like, have you ever had it where one person, because of this one person, you got the job that you wanted at the time, or you ended up getting into maybe a school that you wanted to get into, or you ended up being introduced to maybe somebody who really became important to your life, or as a significant other or spouse. But if it weren't for that one person, that door wouldn't have opened. You know, that's the power of a relationship. You think about like Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz. If it weren't for Oprah, they probably wouldn't know who Dr. Phil is. Dr. Phil didn't have a book when he first started. Okay, he got publicity first. And that is, Tony Robbins didn't have a book before he got publicity. He got publicity first. Actually, he was on a radio show, started talking about his topic, and that helped him get his first seminar. So, you know, it's really a question of, are you willing to get started? Are you willing to get started? And if you are, I've got a really awesome tool, just an awesome tool and service that can be a massive, massive shortcut for you. And I want to tell you about that. And I'm also going to tell you, I promised you on this training, I was giving you a special magic phrase that I used in an email, and I instantly heard back from a CNN producer. I'm going to give that to you as well. But let me share with you what I call the massive shortcut. The massive shortcut that allows you to get publicity and much, much faster. And here's what it is. It's called my National Publicity Summit. You've heard me talk about it, and it's one of the things I love doing about my work, because I bring people who want publicity together with the media, and we just fast track this so that you're able to get the publicity you want, build the relationships you want, because again, what I find is most times people haven't taken action, and I was really like, well, what could I create that would just make it a lot easier? You know, that just to be able to get publicity. I find a lot of times people they don't have the right pitch. Well, what if we trained people ahead of time and actually showed them how to give the right pitch and let them learn directly from, not just from me and my team, but from the media themselves. And then when it came to confidence, right, just the idea maybe of meeting the media would be scary, of course. But what if we let people do it in a safe place with, you know, friendly media who are there to help and contribute? And also, what if by doing it, people just grew more confident? And that's exactly what happens. I've had people come to my publicity summit at the end and say, my gosh, I'm not afraid of media at all. Carol Tuttle came to my summit. She left. She went to her local TV. I think it was in Utah, as I recall. And they didn't know who she was at all. She talked to them, and she was so on it that she ended up booking. She just gave them a whole bunch of segments, and they decided to do a whole series around her. That's called developing a real capability. And she did that because she decided to spend a few days with me and my team and the media in New York. So here's what you get with the National Publicity Summit. Let me share with you. You actually receive two things. For one, you get personalized one-on-one publicity coaching. You know, I've been able to, here I'm just looking here, like Marianne Block says, National Publicity Summit, so worth it. Well, thank you, Marianne. You know, and I'm just, seeing that, all your favorable comments. Thank you so much. But, I can't get to everybody on this training, and I can't even do a deep dive with you. But one of the reasons that Marianne's been successful is that she's been able to have my coaches work with her and just focus on her and her message. What if we were able to focus on you and your message? What if we were able to one-on-one tell you to not do this and emphasize this? Wouldn't it be reasonable that your results would change? Yeah, they really do, because there are things you don't even see right now. You're blind to things. There are things that you don't even know what questions to ask about what you're doing. And I've had people who show up at my event, at the cocktail party, and say, Steve, I got to tell you, this event has already been worth it. And I'm like, well, hold it. The event hasn't even officially begun. This is just the kickoff cocktail party. Like, no, Steve, your training, your coaches are it's just been so incredible. I've had people who started to get publicity before they even, they literally took the ideas and started getting publicity before they even met the media at the summit. And that's how good the training is. So, and so if you've gotten value from this, you're going to really love the training. You're going to feel prepared. Because I realize right now you don't feel prepared. This may sound very scary, and it's only natural. Of course it'd be scary. This is an unnatural act. It's an unnatural act to become famous. But it's an unnatural act to be an author, speaker. It's an unnatural act to be a messenger that's changing people's lives. It's not normal anyway. All right? And how long are you going to be doing this? I assume you're going to be doing this for a few years, right? So I want you to have the personalized coaching, as it says here on the slide, and one of the reasons for that is because then you're going to come to my publicity summit, you're going to meet the media, and my reputation is on the line. I want to make sure you do well. So here's what we give you. And we only accept people for the summit that we feel are going to do well, that are a good match, because I've got to make you happy and the media. Now here's how we do the personalized one-on-one publicity coaching. A pre-interview. We're going to do a pre-interview with you. Then we're going to do a private members-only training site where you can access training that will really help you. And that is typically that training site and the 1 hour session with two 1 hour sessions with a publicity consultant. I put that as like $1,000 value at least. It's a little off kilter on the slide. I did it intentionally so that you would just see you don't have to be perfect to do well. And your media brand consultation. Okay, so that's going to be, what is your media brand? I want when people look at you, I want them to say, oh, she looks like she belongs on the cover of our magazine, or he looks like he belongs on our show. And the colors you wear, would it make sense to you that if you were talking about finance, you would wear a different topic than if you were talking about creative play with children? You would. You'd wear a totally different outfit, wouldn't you? Well, the problem is most people don't really know what they should wear, how they should do their hair, what they should call themselves. That's why we're going to give you a full media brand consultation with one of the top experts in the world. She herself has been on the Today Show and many other national shows. We're also going to do 8 group training calls. Now, you don't have to do all the calls, but I over-deliver. I want to make sure you can get on as many as you want to get feedback and hear what we say to the other members who are coming to the summit. It's such a great way to learn. And sometimes, by the way, I've had people who are super busy and they don't have time to do anything else, but they take advantage of this last thing, which is a full day of training on Wednesday before the event. What is the next thing you get? Well, you get this coaching, but then you get, as it says here, the summit. You get to come to the Publicity Summit, and that's in New York. And here's the great thing. You actually get to meet the media. See, this is the room. See right there is the panel down there. I bring in about 20 media at a time. They're up on a panel, and they're teaching you. Have you ever had the media teach you directly about what they look for, what they want? Have you ever heard directly from the producers of shows like, on ABC and NBC and CBS? Have you ever heard what they have to say? Well, this is what's the unparalleled opportunity, to be able to learn directly from them. And then what we also do is we have given you in advance, they have filled out here as advance info on what they're looking for. They've actually done a whole write-up about what they look for. So remember when I was saying you want to show them that you know what they're looking for? Well, you're going to know what they look for because they're going to tell you in their information. Plus, you're going to hear them on a panel, and that's going to give you a chance over the few days to learn from over 100 journalists and producers. And even better, you're going to actually meet them. You're going to have face-to-face, one-on-one appointments with them so that you can share what you're doing, what you're about, and how you can help them. This would be where you would use your 6 ingredients of your media pitch, with them. And it gets even better. You're going to leave with their contact information. I had a guy say to me today, "This is unbelievable, Steve, because I've had people where I've paid somebody to maybe get me publicity. They don't give me contacts. Maybe you come to an event. Why would I possibly give you my contacts? Because I want you to succeed. I want you to succeed." Take a look at here's just gives you an idea of the kind of media that regularly come to my summit. 48 Hours, producers from 48 Hours, ABC News, ABC's The View, Child Magazine, CNBC, Dateline NBC, Entrepreneur, Essence, Family Circle, Fox News Channel, Glamour, Good Housekeeping, Good Morning America, Inc., Inside Edition, Ladies Home Journal, Life and Style, Live with Kelly, Marie Claire, Men's Fitness, Money, More, New York Daily News, Parade, Parenting, Parents, Rachel Ray, Real Simple, Red Book, Savvy Mommy, Self, 17, Shape, Sirius XM, Today Show, US Air Magazine, Wendy Williams Show, Woman's Day, Woman's World, Women's Health, many, many more. And imagine just having all these people in one place where you can, and we don't even have, there's so many more on here. I've had the New York Times. I've had writers from the New York, people that write for the New York Times book my people at the summit. I mean, just could go on and on. Now, here's the dates for our next Publicity Summit. And here's the thing. Remember when I was saying you actually receive 2 things? You receive the personal coaching and the summit. Well, here's what the total value comes to. The coaching I would value typically at $4,700. The summit, a lot of people tell me, you know what, Steve, it's worth like 10 grand if that's what they think we should charge when they experience it. PR firms, by the way, charge about 30 grand to work with you for like 3 months. So you got a total value of $14,700. But the great thing is that it's not $14,700. It's less than that, and I'll tell you in a little bit where you can find out all the information, the price and everything. But let me share with you a guy who just came to our summit and was trying to figure out, hey, would this work for him? How's it going to go? His name is Tom Scarda. Here's what he had to say.
Hi, my name is Tom Scarda, and I'm from New York. For the past 7 years, I've been trying to figure out how to get my message out, how to get my book in people's hands. Haven't been able to kind of break the ceiling, and then I ran into Steve Harrison and his group, and everything has changed. I've been on 30 radio shows. I'm now a contributor to Entrepreneur.com. I brought my website from 0 to major traffic, and it's all happening just within a few months. If you're thinking about doing this, there's nothing to think about. You need to kind of get it done right now and bring your business to the next level. I joined a second time. Don't wait.
And let me share with you, we had a piece done that really captures the essence of the Publicity Summit. And sometimes it's just helpful to see how it all looks and feels. And let me give you a sense of what that looks like.
The skill of being able to go to an editor or a producer and tell them exactly why they should have you on their show is really the critical skill for getting your big break. Most authors and experts can't do it, but when you come to the Publicity Summit, you learn how to do it, and you actually make it happen.
If you believe in what you do, you need to be at the National Publicity Summit. This is the best thing I've done for my career ever.
We've had people who've come to the National Publicity Summit get booked on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Fox and Friends, The View. We've had people get an O Magazine, and the person I'm thinking of hadn't even finished his book yet. It was just at the concept stage.
You absolutely have to attend this event. You cannot get this kind of exposure anywhere.
So one of the things we find is nowadays, so many people have blogs, really anybody with a computer can write a book, can create a website, can create a podcast, and this is really wonderful on one hand, but what it also means is that it's harder than ever to get publicity.
I just don't have time for facts. I really just don't have time to go through the hundreds of faxes we get every day. By the time I get to his email, I've read 500 other emails.
Press kits, mail, faxes, emails, and there's just a real daily deluge.
Don't send me a long email because I don't have time to read it all. We get about 800 books a week unsolicited for review, and we do about 10 or 15.
It's overwhelming to keep up with. And that's really why they love the Publicity Summit. Because they come, first of all, it's a lot of fun. But the other thing is that they know that we've screened people, that we've trained them on how to get right to the point, and how to really think like a producer. So the National Publicity Summit has really turned out to be a breakthrough way to get on national TV, to get in major magazines.
Simply attending the how-to seminars has been worth the price of admission alone. These guys are for real.
Because the key is you have to get out of the pile and meet them in person.
It would take me 6 months of working 4 days a week to be able to see the amount of people, if I could even get in the door, that I can do in 3 days at the summit. There's no place in the world that you can come and get the exposure and meet the producers and the movers and shakers that you need to do that more than at the summit. It's the best 3 days of your life.
You know, it's sad to say, but I don't know who it was. Somebody said most people go to their graves with their song still inside them. And what I see, unfortunately, is so many people with incredible material, incredible message, incredible experiences, wisdom to share. And you know what? They really never get the attention they deserve because they never really got the break.
If you ever want to really make a difference in your life, come to this summit. It's like a dream come true.
It's a magazine with Oprah on the cover, and they've done a 4-page spread on me here. Here I am on the cover of another magazine. There's a cover of a magazine. It's just been nonstop.
We have so many of our attendees who are previously unknown, some unpublished, many self-published, who had never been in a major magazine or on a major TV show. And I find it so really incredibly rewarding to get voicemail messages. I get a little teary thinking about it, of people saying, Steve, I've been trying for so long, and I'm going to be on Good Morning America.
Is this media summit for real? This publicity summit for real? You're darn right it is. You owe it to yourself to celebrate yourself to the highest level. And the best way to do that is by coming here so the media can find out who you are.
And we do the summit in New York City. I mean, that's the media capital of the world. I mean, that's where NBC, Fox News, CBS, ABC, all the major magazines, newspapers, I mean, that's really where they are. And that's where you need to be. It's fun, it's exciting. You'll even have a chance to catch a Broadway show or go to a great restaurant. It's a lot of fun. When you decide to invest in yourself, decide to invest in learning how to get publicity, how to think like a producer, how to get on TV, in magazines, get publicity online, everything can change for you. When a media person meets you, they can hear your passion. They can see how you come across. They can see what you look like, and they can say, you know, he or she would be perfect for my show. So when you come to the National Publicity Summit, you're guaranteed to be able to meet more than 100 media. We actually have more media that attend the Publicity Summit than attendees. People come to me and say, Steve, thanks so much for helping me get my big break. And I say, no, no, no. You got your big break because you put yourself in a place where it could happen.
So how are you feeling about this? Is it exciting? Is it scary? Maybe both? Well, that means you're totally normal. You're just like all the people that I work with who've seen that they've been able to make a huge quantum leap in their publicity and their exposure. And I want to encourage you that if this is a bit scary, that might very well be the reason to do it. Because, see, it's what I find is that when people make the decision to take the leap of faith, and really just trust your gut on this. If you feel like, what, I've got something here, this feels scary, but it still just feels right, I want to invite you to go ahead and take the leap of faith, and here's why. Because really, you've got nothing to lose. I offer a money-back guarantee, and let me show you with you how this works. The guarantee is simply this, is you get actually more than your money back guaranteed. If you're not convinced this was a great investment, you simply ask me for a refund by noon on the second day. I'll refund your entire price of admission, and if you came from out of town, I'll also reimburse your hotel and travel expenses up to $300. So, what more can I do? I'm giving you the media on a silver platter, and I'm really taking away the risk. I'm training you ahead of time, and it's really, but what I can't do is I can't take the leap of faith. That's really up to you. I can't give you this unless you're willing to take a little bit of a jump in the pool here and try it out and learn to swim. But let me tell you something, once you do, your career will completely change. How many years are you going to be doing this? You can be doing this for another 3 years, another 10 years, maybe more. Well, this is an investment in your education. I've had people tell me that coming to the summit, I had a lady say to me, Steve, unbelievable. Just coming to the summit, the connections I made, I got a literary agent, I got my book deal, I got on TV, I ended up getting a book with Hay House. These all because of just a few days. So it's a massive, massive accelerator for you to make the impact that you want, to make the income that you want, to make the difference that you want. And here's the thing, my situation is I've got more than 1,000 people who registered for this training. And I only accept 100 people. In fact, we've got a lot of spots that are already gone. So we are very limited on how many people we can take. And so I want to give you an incentive to go ahead and apply now, and because we just want to get you in if you're right. And we would need to look at what you have, and if you're somebody really seasoned, great. If you're completely new, that's fine too. We just want to make sure that your topic is one that we can work with you and have you get good results so that you're happy, that the media's happy, and that's going to make me really happy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a special incentive. Apply by midnight tonight. Apply by midnight tonight, and I'm actually going to give you something that I have sold to my list for over $1,000. I'm sorry, for just under $1,000, for $997. So imagine getting something for just under $1,000 of value. And what is that? Well, it's look at me here. You're going to love this. This is something that, imagine having one of the top media trainers in the world teach you how to speak in sound bites, so that you speak in sound bites in a memorable way that people, so if you think about it, when I say you can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous, that's a sound bite. Do you have that? Do you have sound bites in your book, in your speaking, in your media interviews? When you have sound bites, people are going to buy from you, they're going to recommend you, they're going to refer you. So speaking in sound bites is a really essential skill to being an author, speaker, coach, expert. And one of the best media coaches in the world, somebody who has gotten her clients in the national press, on Oprah, because they could speak in sound bites. She put together a wonderful program that we call Your Signature Sound Bites. and it's an online course. You'd have complete access to it. You'd even get some one-on-one feedback on just getting your message into sound bites. You know, when you write your book, you want your book to have sound bites in it. Or when you're talking about your book, you at least want to have sound bites. So this is available. It's a $9.97 value, but it's only when you actually go and take action and apply by midnight today, midnight tonight, okay? So it's your signature sound bites training, and here's where you got to go to get all the information, to go ahead and apply. Go to getmajorpublicity.com, getmajorpublicity.com. Get major publicity so that you can make a major difference, so you can make a major impact, so that you can be seen, as you really should be seen, as one of the experts in your field. And I hope that feels appealing. If that doesn't feel, that feels like a little, wow, me, one of the experts, then that's all the more reason why I want to encourage you to get around other experts and get around the media. It will raise your game. I've had people who've said to me, you know, just the decision to come to your publicity summit completely changed my results, because now I made so much more progress on getting my book done. I got my book done, or I got my website up. The fact that I knew I was coming really got my act together. So I apologize in advance if we're sold out when you apply, but I want to really, I just love doing this, and I'd hate to see you miss out, and I really want to give you this added value of the Signature Soundbites course, which we sell for just about $1,000, $997. And I promised a magic phrase. Remember that? The magic phrase of what I said to the CNN producer in my subject line that would immediately get her to call me back? Well, here's what happened. I hadn't talked to this producer for like, over 5 years. And I figured she probably didn't remember me. And I sent her an email. And the email said, Betsy, are you still doing stand-up comedy? I heard back from her like right away. Now, why? Because think about it. She's going through all those emails, and she sees her name, and she sees this question. And she goes, who's this guy who knows I did stand-up comedy? And what's the lesson there? Well, I was able to immediately get her attention because I had met her briefly before, but I knew a little something about her. And just to that extent, we had a relationship, really. But really, you know, it was just kind of, we had met once briefly. But I was able to break through the clutter. And that's what I want you to have. I want you to have relationships with the media where you can, you know a little bit about them as people. And you've connected with them. And they tell me all the time, when people say, met you at the publicity summit, they say, I give more credence to that email, you know, because I met you. I've had people say, you know, when they're working with companies and they say, you know, when I was in New York and I was talking to the producers of ABC and NBC, they were really agreeing with me that there's a real problem. It's like, whoa, you were talking to the producers of ABC, NBC? You know, so this whole thing is about elevation, elevating you so that you can elevate your impact. You can have anything you want if you position yourself to be famous. I hope that you will decide to position yourself to be famous. And because there are people right now who they don't know you yet, but they're going to thank you someday. They're going to send you a letter or an email, and they're going to thank you for your book, for your speaking, for changing their lives, for giving them hope, for giving them inspiration. You haven't met them yet, but they're going to meet you through your books, through your videos, through your speaking. And why? Because you decided to position yourself to be famous. And my team and I, we stand ready to help you with that. Please go to getmajorpublicity.com. Let us get you on the path. Let's really accelerate. You know, you don't have time to waste. There are people who need you. Let's really make it happen. Let's rock and roll. So this has been really wonderful. I just look forward to having you in New York. I look forward to seeing you on TV and in the magazines and online, and maybe being kind of tough to get you to return my calls someday. All the best. Take care and take action.